Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my out-of-box review for the Eva 01 kit here from SunToys. So SunToys is a bootleg third-party kit producer, bootleg I guess, anyway. So yeah, they made their RX-78-2 kit in this sort of like partially SD style. And so this is their second kit in this particular style, and it's the Eva. And it's a really cool kit. I think it was a lot of fun. As far as like these bootleg third-party kits go, it felt pretty average. There was a little bit of fitting issues here and there, but it was pretty minimal actually for the most part. This kit actually has pretty much very little in the way of flash. You are going to have to do a little bit more sanding on this than you would on like a regular Bandai or Kotobukiya kit. Just sanding some of the flat surfaces to make sure that they're really flat, sanding some of the edges to just get rid of a little bit of like little lines of mold lines on areas, but that should be pretty expected. There are some areas where I would recommend gluing some of the parts. Some of these smaller parts do seem like they might want to fall out a little bit easier, but overall it actually went together pretty well. And I gotta say, all the while building this kit, it felt incredibly similar to a Kotobukiya Evangelion kit. So if you've ever built any Kotobukiya Eva kit, this really I was building it thinking like, man, I really wonder if like Kotobukiya actually designed this kit, but then for whatever reason they decided not to produce it, so then like went to like some like backdoor market of the Chinese, like these Chinese companies, and like sold off their design to this company, because it really seems like something from Kotobukiya. The hands, I will say, I'm pretty certain that the hands at least are exactly copied from Kotobukiya Evangelion kits, so you'll see that. I have done a review of the Kotobukiya Evangelion Unit 13 kit a while back. It was a long time ago, but you can check that review out. Anyway, as you can see, just straight out of the box, the color separation on this kit is really nice. All of the shapes and detail. It doesn't, I mean, it's not a Gundam kit, so it doesn't have a lot of like the same kind of surface details like we would see on like other kits that I usually review on this channel. So there's not much in the way of like panel lines and things like that. It's just because of the design of the Eva, but the details and everything that is there is really nice, but the color separation is really fantastic. Before I get into showing you guys a little bit more about the articulation, I want to just go over the accessories and other stuff that comes with this, but also want to say a big thank you to Hobby Mission for sending me this kit to share with you guys. The link to their site will be down below. You can check that out. They are specializing in selling other kind of third-party bootleg kits like this out of China, so if there's this kit or any other kind of similar kits that you're looking for, you can get those from their site. So first thing here, this kit doesn't come with any stickers, but it does come with this really nice sheet of waterslide decals, so you get a lot of different options here. Some of them are like markings that are quite specific for the kit, and some are a little bit less specific. They're things that you can use like for the base or for some other kind of things that you have going along with the kit or something. And speaking of a base, you do get a base with this kit, so it's just like this, and then it has this arm here, which is very similar to the arm of an Action Base 2, like 1/144 scale Action Base from Bandai. But this actually only plugs in here. You can see there's a lot of holes in the base, but there's only one that this actually fits into, just this one here. The other holes would be good for if you're having like some effect parts or something, but this doesn't come with anything included with this kit that would be useful for that. So you just have it like that. You'll actually have to turn this as well, because this kit has, again, like a Kotobukiya kit, a plug-in here on the back, kind of would be like the back skirt, or underneath the, what would sort of be the backpack at the top of the spine there. So a couple points that you can plug that in. If you don't want to have that hole in the back skirt, you have an extra piece there, which you can see a little bit of stress on here. That white mark is just stress from the back of that. That's just exactly how it was straight out of the box. I haven't actually even tried putting this on the kit yet, but once that's painted, that won't be a problem at all. But if you just have that, if you don't want that hole in the back. Also, in terms of alternative parts, for the horn there, you can see I've got that part on there with the little green parts. That's 4 tiny little green parts that fit around that, and I would be a little bit worried about those falling off. So if you want to just build this out of the box and not paint it, then you can probably use that one. But if you are planning on painting it, you do have this alternative version that's just all molded as one piece. So you'll just have to mask that if you want, but I think this will be much more solid. You won't have to worry about losing any little tiny pieces or having to glue those in to be sure not to lose them. So you just have this as an option. You do have some other leftover parts as well, and the leftover parts seem to be for like the really small or really like easily prone to breaking parts. So for example, these little green parts, so as I mentioned, the little green parts around the horn, you have an extra set of those. You also have an extra set of like these parts for the bit on the shoulder. So some of like the really more delicate parts, it's nice that they gave you extras of those. I guess that was on purpose. And as for the hands, we have a whole bunch of options. So you can see I have like these kind of expressive ones there. And then we also have just these really wide open ones like this. And we have a full set of left and right for all of these. So you have left and right versions for each of these hands. And then you have this kind of just like open resting hands. So this can be for like just sort of hanging down like that. You also have a set of just closed fists here as well. And then a set of holding hands, which would be probably mostly used for the knife or the lance. And then you have trigger finger hand, which you could use for the rifle or the chain gun or Gatling gun, I guess. So here's the rifle or the pellet gun. And this is quite nice. I really like the design of this. Of course, it's a really cool design. In terms of the parts itself, it's basically those two pieces sandwiched together. So you will have a seam line going down that. But it's pretty nicely detailed. And you have two of those, so you can use both of those if you want, or just one, whatever. Then you have the knife, which looks like this, also pretty nicely detailed, nicely molded and shaped. So this is just a one solid piece, so not any mold line or not any seam line or anything on that. And you actually have 4 of these, because there's 2 on the runner, and you have 2 of that runner, so you have plenty of knives. And then you have this really cool Gatling gun as well. I really quite like this. It just has a really interesting design, and you can see there's a kind of a port here. If you wanted to, I don't know, I think if you really wanted to modify this, looks like there's a lot of ways that you can modify this quite a bit by adding some sort of like scope on the top. Would be really easy to do that. If you wanted to make it sort of like connected to some sort of generator or something, I think just like cutting off this little thing here and making some cord out of the bottom of the handle or something. This little kind of thing here on the side, I guess that's supposed to be where the bullet casings are supposed to come out of there. But you could definitely modify that to just being like an ammo chain or something. So anyway, really cool. And you also get 2 of these as well. So I could say you definitely having some leftover parts that you could use with some other kit or something. Now, if you wanted to use these with like a Gundam kit or something, it would probably be a little bit hard to get your hand on the handle, because as you can see, it's a very sharp angle of that handle. Most Gundam kits don't have hands that can do that, so you have to do a little bit of modification in order to use this with a particular Gundam kit. If you're wondering about which size, this would probably be a little bit big for a 1/144 scale Gundam kit if you wanted to use that, and maybe, depending on the master grade, a little bit small maybe for a master grade, but definitely more suited towards a 1/100 scale kit than an HG, unless you wanted to have an HG with a really big Gatling gun. And then we have the Lance of Longinus, and this is also really nice. It's just 3 pieces, 2 pieces here, and then 1 piece for the base. And you also have 2 of these as well, so you can use those. And I mean, these are quite nice. They're straight, not really curved or anything at all, just so we won't have to worry about fixing that or anything. Just pretty sharp details, and I like them a lot. You also have this AT field effect part, which I haven't tried yet, but I think you should just be able to sort of maybe work the hands to fit in there. I'll try posing this. I'm not sure how easily it's going to be done, but we'll see. And then you have this little generator and a power plug, which is connected by this rubber hose. Now, a couple of qualms with this. The first thing is just the generator. You can see on the bottom of this, there is a little peg, which looks like, oh, you can just plug that into the base together with it, but actually the plug is the same size as this one, which, if you remember, as I mentioned, there's only 1 plug of that particular size, so you can actually only plug this into here, there on the base. So if you can't use that generator part here on the base and this connection arm as well, you have to choose one or the other. What I would recommend doing is just plain up, just cutting that off on the bottom. And luckily this is one of those parts that you have doubles of, so you do actually have a spare one. You could cut one off. And then maybe the other one, just maybe shave down that peg or something until it fits into this one of these other holes correctly. Now my other problem here is with this tube. The tube is just like I said, soft rubber, so you can't actually like really pose that if you wanted to have this like in some sort of pose not connected to the Eva. Now I have figured out a solution for that by just taking some wire here. This is just 0.7 millimeter wire, and it fits in here quite well, so I can just thread this through there, and this should actually be then posable. There you go, much better. That's an easy fix, so that's really nice. Alright, so let's get into talking about some of the finer details and articulation and everything. So first thing, these shoulder parts here are just like plugged in via a ball joint, like at the back of the arm, and as you can see, they're very loose. This one seems to stay in a good position fine, but this one seems to always want to fall in that way, and that's just not really going to work very well. So I would definitely recommend doing something to tighten that up, maybe possibly just gluing that in place. So here in the shoulder armor, you can actually open this up. So you can fold out the top and then fold out these like side arms there. So you can't actually store anything in there, but just if you wanted to sort of fake the effect of him like pulling the knife out of that shoulder armor there, you can do that. Here's another part that's also quite loose on this. This knee armor keeps wanting to fall off. This part is like held on by this little hook there on the green part. And that was one area where there was some flash, so I had to kind of get rid of some flash on that little peg in there so that it will fit into place. And if I didn't shave that off, then this part would be stressed. You can see that's actually stressed a little bit. It's pressed a little bit too wide. So that's one problem. And then so I had to shave off some of the flash, and I may have shaved off a little bit too much, so now it's a little bit loose. So this connection is a little bit loose, probably due to my own fault, but just be a little bit careful about that. So here on the head, you can see those clear yellow pieces there for the eyes. So we do have the LED in here, and here on the back of the head, hidden up inside there is a tiny little black switch, which you can just press that, and then that will light up the LEDs for the eyes. Now, as I mentioned in the unboxing, on that part there for like the black part around the eyes, I had a little bit of defect in mine, and what it was is like at the bottom of that black part inside there was a little bit of lip of plastic, and mine was actually broken on the side a little bit. So what I did was just totally remove that lip all the way around. And I didn't really think it would have that much effect, but one thing I am noticing is that I am getting light leaking through here at the bottom of that. So I'm guessing what that little black lip on that part was for probably blocking out some of this light from coming through there. So that's something I'll have to deal with mine. Hopefully you guys don't have that issue with your kit and you won't have to deal with that. Now, of course, it just wouldn't be Eva Unit 1 if its mouth didn't open, so we can open up its mouth here as well. It's a little bit tricky. There we go. So you can open that up like so. You have some pretty nice detail there, and for the teeth, the detail like at the back of the mouth there is kind of weird. It's like this weird kind of spiderweb looking detail. Looks kind of interesting, but really nice detail there all around. This top of the head there, that's just one solid piece, so there's no seam line or anything on there. I think it maybe might look deceiving, but there is no actual seam line there, so it's a little bit of a mold line on the top. The neck also a little bit loose, so I would definitely recommend trying to tighten that up a little bit, but you can see just all this really nice color separation. So there's like the red inside the gray, which is actually set on top of black, and then there's this purple going around that, and a little bit of green there. The orange parts set on the black inside there around the neck, all really, really nice. You can get a lot of nice articulation there in the neck. It's just a little bit on the loose side. Articulation at the top as well, so that's 2 points of articulation for that. Can bring the shoulder up only really to about there, but this is another part that tends to fall off really easily, that purple part inside there on the top of the shoulder. If I remember correctly from the Kotobukiya kit, I had a similar issue with that kit as well, actually. We also have rotation at the top of the arm, and then a joint here at the elbow, of course, which will give you just about 90 degrees. And then there's a double ball joint at the wrist, so you can get some pretty nice movement out of that. Also, characteristically Eva, it has a multi-joint system here in the torso and its very long stomach section, so there's a couple points of articulation there, so you can get a pretty good section crunch here between those. I think it's like the waist section, then 1, 2 parts there in between, and then the main kind of chest section there. Here on the back, you can open up the entry plug as well. You can kind of open this up, slide this back, and when you slide that back, it kind of pops that open. So you can see there's this kind of movement there like that. If you push the head all the way forward, you can get this opened up all the way like that, and you can see there is a little entry plug in there that actually pops out a little bit, so you can just kind of have the effect of that if you want. I think you could probably modify this a little bit to open a little bit more, so that you can actually have the entry plug like more farther out if you wanted to, like sort of simulate that it was kind of like going in. But it's just kind of cool how there's that mechanism in there for that to slide out as you open that. Here in the legs, I like the addition of this little part here at the top. I think if it didn't have that, it would look kind of bare there. So it's a really cool, just like little kind of creative liberty that they took there to have that part just kind of, it's sort of like a side skirt armor in a way, but it's just connected at the top of the leg. So it just kind of helps to give it a smoother look overall, I think. So you can get the legs out nice and far, nice and wide, and that part, again, it's great how that moves up and out of the way, so you don't have to really worry about that. You have some rotation at the top, but not a whole lot. I think I wish that would go a little bit wider, but I think it is actually due to this part. It's kind of getting in the way of rotating that more around. Can get a nice double bend there in the knee, so really nice full knee bend. There's a little bit of separation here of this green part kind of popping out as you bend the knee. And then down here at the foot, this front green part is on a ball joint, so that can move around a little bit, but not too much. The toe does move up individually on its own. You can see nice detail there underneath the feet as well. The whole foot can be pointed down to there, forward and back. Can angle that side to side as well, side to side to side. So you can see the articulation overall is pretty nice, and the construction of everything pretty good. But yeah, there's going to be some loose parts. As you can see, I've tried my best to kind of utilize that AT field effect part in this case, but it's not going to be all that convincing. I think, I don't know how useful. I mean, you guys maybe can do better than I can. Also, a little bit hard to use that base because, I mean, you'd think it would be able to just kind of do a pose like this standing, but it's a very front heavy, just of course due to that very large head, which very much hangs to the front. So this kit does have a little bit of balance issues if you're going to be doing some action poses, things like that. Very front heavy, so you probably will have to use the base just to make it stand. And you can see this shoulder armor here, which is hanging off to the side, doesn't want to stay. Well, now suddenly it wants to stay in the position, but when I was trying to get this kit posed, couldn't get it to stay in that position. And just the hands like kind of backwards like that, which is kind of accurate to how it should be, but it doesn't look very natural at all. So if this was the exact pose that you're going for, not sure how well it's going to work. Now, another little bit of a double-edged sword with this kit is that I love all the different options that this kit comes with. How you have all the different weapons and everything that you can do, and all the different hands and all of that. All the different options are great, but I gotta say, posing the kit is not very enjoyable. There's just kind of, like I said, there's loose part. I mean, the joints are a little bit loose here and there, and like I said, you kind of have to have it on the base. It doesn't really want to stand on its own. There's not really any safe place to hold the kit while you're trying to work another part. So like with the Gundam kit or something like that, you can like hang on to the torso section while you're moving another part, and like you're not going to move anything. There's nowhere where you can hold onto this kit where you won't move something else out of place while you're trying to move another part. So not really the most fun kit to pose. I think its posability, like the range of poses that you can do with it, is quite good. It's pretty good, but it's just not a very easy or fun process getting it there. So my point is that while you have all these different options, you may not really enjoy going through the process of actually trying out a lot of different poses and things like that. You may want to just like kind of experiment one or two, find a pose that you really like, and just kind of stick with that. But like I said before, this really, really feels like a Kotobukiya Eva kit. So if you've built one of those, you should have a pretty good idea what's in store for that. I was going to say that this feels like a bootleg version of a Kotobukiya kit, but it's not even that. I mean, like, from what I remember of that Kotobukiya kit that I built, it was a little bit of a headache to pose as well. Just because of how it is designed. I think just the design of Evangelions in general, it's really hard to translate that into a model kit form. I think you can make something that looks good like this, and like with the Kotobukiya kits, they look really good, but construction of them is just, it's really hard to do it in a way that makes it as easy to pull off as Bandai, how they make their Gundam kits. So just be aware, and I think this shouldn't really come as a surprise to anyone that this is going to be a little bit different experience from building your average Gunpla model. And that's pretty much going to do it for my review of this kit, guys. I actually quite like this kit a lot. It is just a really cool style, I think. So, I mean, I really love Evangelion, so I definitely have a little bit of a bias. I think no matter what flaws the kit might have, I would still like it a lot. But that being said, I mean, I have given you guys my honest opinion. It is not perfect, as you would expect from a bootleg third-party kind of company. But this thing is definitely not bad by any means. Really great color separation there, really nice articulation, a lot of different options, and it has some nice water slides as well. And I think if you just, again, as I usually tend to say quite a lot in these kind of reviews, if you know what you're getting yourself into, then you won't have any regrets in buying this. I think you're going to have a little bit more sanding to do, some seam line removal. It's all pretty normal. And then once it's all painted up, it's going to be a really nice looking kit for sure. So I'm looking forward to painting mine up eventually. Anyway, and if you guys still do have any other questions or comments about this, you can leave those down below. Thank you guys so much, as always, for watching. Thank you again to Hobby Mission for sending me this kit, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. See you next time.